Alright, finally got set up. I have a booth. I'll be doing signings of 2 stories, book 1, as well as copies of Numb. And I have a few copies of Barbarian's Handbook for Aspiring Savages to sign and sell too. At Voodoo Vinyl, which is an awesome record shop in Lancaster, California. Alright, so overall Voodoo Vinyl was not as successful as the as the comic book shop, which makes sense. It's a music store. It also kind of makes sense because like my setup was actually in the back room where they keep the comics, so it's like a 2-room store. But I will tell you, the owners of Voodoo Vinyl are like super awesome. They said they'd have me back happily if I ever want a booth or anything like that there. And honestly, it was just enjoyable, like getting to know like the owners of the local record shop. And also they're just, it's also just rad to spend a couple hours in a record shop. So overall, I sold, and I'm just gonna be transparently honest, I sold like 1 copy of 2 stories, and then I also sold 1 copy of Numb, and that was kind of it. So it was literally like 2 copies for sitting there, you know, for I think I was there for about 4 hours. So, and not the best, but not the worst, considering you know, it wasn't even a comic shop. So I think I'm still gonna test my theory on other venues like bars and things like that. But so far I'm thinking, although I'd probably do that again just to hang out with the store owner, because they're just awesome people. They're like a retired couple that started a record shop just for the heck of it. As the, you know, and honestly, they're just like sweet people. They really like music, kind of like awesome, just rad hipsters. And so, yeah, overall, I'd say the experience was worth it. It was really positive. Book sales, not so much. But yeah, hey, it was worth a shot. I knew it was a gamble going into it. And surprisingly for a gamble, hey, I still, you know, came out selling some books and moving some books, but not like comparing this to like the comic store signing. It's yeah, it's better, probably better for me to stick to comic book shop signings. But it was still fun. It was still awesome, and I still love that shop. And like I said, I might do one again in the future, just because it was such a fun experience. Setting up a comic book signing with a rad group of people. So yeah, so that's basically it. That's gonna do it for me on the signing. But overall, second day signing, I'd say a success in the sense of fun. It's nice to have a couple days off work. Yesterday was a wild success. Today was like a meh. But at the same time, I will say, if you live in Lancaster, okay, go to Voodoo Vinyl. Like, it's amazing, especially if you like music. They have so many records there, and like mouth-wateringly awesome records, you know, collectible records. So if you're really into vinyl or music, it's a really rad shop. And that's just the Lancaster branch. I think they have a bigger location in Newhall. But I will say also, what didn't work in our favor, and the store owners mentioned this too, is it's like 100 and something degrees outside, and most of the traffic on Thursdays comes from First Thursdays, where they do, I don't even know if it's First Thursdays, because is it the first Thursday? Regardless, it's like on Thursdays they have this this open market out on Lancaster Boulevard, and then honestly, like, I saw even all the vendors outside. Usually Lancaster Boulevard, like, they shut the whole boulevard down. They have like a farmer's market and stuff like that, and there's just massive crowds of people walking through. Today, because of the mass heat, I think there were a lot less people just kind of strolling down the boulevard. The other thing to keep in mind is we are still at a point where, like, not everybody's vaccinated. The global pandemic's going to keep away a lot of that walk-through traffic, and most of the retail stores on Lancaster Boulevard depend on that stuff. So yeah, so anyhow, I want to do these videos as transparently as possible. I know a lot of people
might be in a similar predicament and just kind of make up numbers, but I want to be honest about what all I moved, because I think that'll be helpful for you guys. And honestly, it's just an example of like how it goes with in-store signings, how it goes when you're trying to promote your book. Sometimes you have to try, I think you have to try like out-of-the-box techniques and see if that works. If not, maybe stick to the box. But I will say, I still had an overall positive experience, and I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I'm trying new things, and honestly, I'm not out any money. I came out ahead a little bit, but yeah, it was definitely a slower experience. So maybe selling comics in a music shop isn't so great, or maybe it's just the next time I just need to be more proactive, or maybe if I do it with them again. Yeah, so I think we'll just have to kind of see how that goes. I will say I am exhausted. We have Kevin Cross on Artcasters tonight, my good friend, who would probably have some bands that were probably in that record shop. And the one thing I would say also that sucked about doing a signing at a record shop is I just wanted to look at the records, man. And I wanted to see things like that, like, hey, did they have Nerve Agents? Do they have, like, you know, bands that buddies of mine are in? But anyhow, so good times. Everything is much appreciated from like the people who did come out, the people who picked up my work. And again, you know, slow build, but it's a good experience, and it's a humbling experience, and I think that's always beneficial. So yeah, I don't know if I'm putting like too positive of a spin on it, but I still feel like, hell, at least I tried, and at least I did something a little out of the box. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I do think that might be something I'll try again in the future, though, because they did say they'd happily have me back again. So yeah, so who knows, maybe in the future we can make it happen. All right, well that'll pretty much do it. And yeah, I'm gonna basically log off of this and then go home and crash, I think, because it is tiring sitting at a booth all day. Not that I did that all day, but for a good chunk of the day. All right, yeah, bye. Hi, I'm Joshua Kemble. I'm a cartoonist who recently did a comic about faith and mental illness called 2 Stories, which you can get on Amazon.com. And I've also been a professional freelance illustrator and graphic designer for the last, you know, over a decade, like probably at this point way over 15 years. And a professional art director for the last 7 full-time. And that's where I'm commuting to. So I'm heading to work. I ended up having a lot of days off this week. I requested a couple days off. Luckily, my employer gave me those days off so that I could do in-store signings. One of which was super successful at Bases Cards and Comics, which you can check out the video. The other at Voodoo Vinyl was not so successful. I think I only sold like 2 books like the whole time I was there. Whereas the other signing, I did really well. Even selling the 2 books, though, I'm happy to have sold. Like, I sold a copy of Numb and then a copy of 2 Stories, and that was still cool. But I will say, like, the record store, as an experiment, like, I thought I'd do a signing at a cool vinyl shop, and it just wasn't the busiest day. Like, there weren't a lot of people, and also there were 2 rooms, and I was in the back room, which has all their comics and stuff. And I think that had a lot to do with the success of it as well. But I will say, like, the owners are awesome. The store itself is awesome. It was really hard not to just spend, like, a crap load of money when I was in there because they had just such great albums. And then let's see. So yeah, I mean, overall it was like a successful few days. And like, even though like the Voodoo Vinyl one wasn't so super great, I might do it again. Like, they said they'd have me back. So maybe one of these days I'll do it again. On a weekday, though, it's hard to make happen. So I'm hoping to do signings and stuff in the future, like on weekends. I know I'm also looking into the possibility of doing Long Beach Comic-Con, getting a table there. So I need to kind of find out about that. I ended up getting my California seller's permit too, which is really important if you're doing sales and stuff like that. And so now all I have to do is like register wherever I'm going to be selling product, which is awesome, as long as I remember. And that's the key, is like remember to do that, because it's important. Like I'm a proud taxpayer and I like paying my taxes, and that includes sales taxes. Plus it's super essential for doing cons and stuff like that. So I am really excited though about the prospect of getting books out again. It was definitely a good and humbling experience to do signings, to be in a place where like you're surrounded by people who are totally not familiar with your work and you're having to sell them on your work. It's just a really good experience, and I think will sharpen me on like pitching my own projects and stuff like that. So, but I am really eager to get to the convention circuit, so I need to find out what conventions are still happening. But right now it's looking like the most likely one, the one I'm going to look into the most, would be Long Beach Comic-Con, because it's only 2 weekend days, Saturday and Sunday, and so I could do that without requesting days off, and also fit it within my work schedule around a time where like we're super busy, where I work at my day job. So I'm excited about those prospects and getting that going. I also booked my first test for autism, like which will be I think next week or the week after. I haven't written down. I wrote it down in my diary so I wouldn't have to remember. That's from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Sean Connery's character. But yeah, he writes everything in his diary so he doesn't have to remember. And I'm like, ever since I saw that, I relate to that, because I have a really bad memory, and writing things down is like key for me when it comes to short-term memory. Let's see what else. So I also had a really good conversation with my buddy Kevin Cross on Artcasters yesterday, and that was cool. We got to catch up. He's working on rebooting, kind of having a more positive vibe on his art and on his outlook for art and stuff like that, like more playfulness. And I think that's really cool, and very exciting. But yeah, I'm also excited about the autism test, because I've just been so curious about this for years, like for a couple of years now, where going through having a son with it, I've just started more and more realizing like a lot of those behaviors kind of mimic ones I had as a kid, and some of my struggles as an adult as well. And so it'll be really enlightening and good to know, you know, like officially what's going on. And I think like honestly getting to know who you are as a person is really important. So yeah, so there's that. And then I'm really excited about, like I said, I'm really excited about the prospect of getting more signings going, if I can, and doing more in-stores and stuff, as many as I can, because it's a positive experience. You sell some books, you meet people, you meet really interesting people. I met a lot of interesting people in the last few days, some of which are YouTubers that are local. So if I can remember, my problem is I'm always so busy, and working on book 2 of 2 stories. It's just like constantly this time-consuming thing, and yet I really do need to remember to reach out to some of these YouTubers, because I do think it's pretty awesome that we have like local YouTubers, which makes sense. It's a big city. It seems like a small town, like the vibe of the city we live in, and then it's a commuter city, so it kind of like there's not a huge sense of like community there. But the one thing we can forget living in Lancaster and the Antelope Valley and stuff is just how big that city is. It's a really broad scope that it covers. So yeah, so I'm overall very, very excited about all of that. Yeah, and then I'm trying to think of anything else that's kind of awesome going on. I mean, my main thing is get through the workday today, do a really kick-ass job for my employer, because that's what I do. And then I am really hoping to hopefully, let's see, this weekend's going to be pretty busy. I know there's some family stuff. I know that I really need to catch up on 2 stories, book 2, which I'm getting further and further along on the thumbnails for. And I also really want to do more comic shop visits, like more kind of browsing around and seeing if more comic shops would be interested in taking my stuff or doing signings. So far, I haven't heard a lot back from a lot of the shops that we've stopped at, but I feel like I'm making contacts along the way, and I might be able to touch base at some point with each of those shops. The other issue with trying to email any comic shop is, like, these people are retail runners. Like, they run their own shops. They're usually mom and pop stores. And like a lot of business owners, like, do not check their email. And it makes sense because, like, a lot of these guys are busy, like, running the cash register themselves or setting up signings, like with, you know, like Lou Ferrigno or, like, you know, pop stars and stuff like that. And so, like, just taking the time to kind of engage in, like, small emails, like, a lot of these people just don't have the time. Some of them probably don't even check their emails. So I'm keeping that in mind too, because I need to remember to, like, follow up with these people every once in a while, just to see what day we can do things. So that's basically kind of where I'm at. That's what's on my mind. I really miss live streaming. I wasn't able to do a lot of live streams because obviously, like, you know, prepping for the in-store signings, and then doing the in-store signings, and then even, like, after. This is one thing a lot of people may talk about. I don't know if people talk about, but it's like doing signings or conventions is, like, super exhausting. It's surprising how much it pulls out of you. I think it's because you have to be really engaged and talking to a lot of people, and it gives you, like, this really cool boost, like, when you're there, because you're, like, kind of, like, on your A game, like, having a good personality, like, trying to be sociable with people, and at the same time you're also, like, kind of looking at your booth and keeping an eye on that, or your table, and then at the same time you're also trying to kind of balance, like, doing transactions, so you're kind of working a register in a weird way, and then on top of that, you're just sitting, like, in one place, just constantly talking to people. It gets exhausting, like, for 8 hours of that, or even 4 hours of that. And I had forgotten about that. I remember conventions can be crazy busy. You can forget to do lunch, you can forget to eat dinner, because you're just in the zone, like, making sales and working your booth. So I need to keep that in mind going forward, but the point being, like, I was definitely in no shape to do a live stream or anything like that. Yeah, but very excited about how everything went. I know I've said excited like 50,000 times. So my plans for the weekend are definitely, I want to get a live stream in. That would be good. Yeah, other than that, like, I need to work on 2 stories, book 2. I'd like to stop by a couple more comic shops, just pushing closer to LA. I've finally gotten to about the Burbank line in Southern California, and so I want to keep pressing forward. I might also want to look in like San Fernando and like that area. But yeah, that's about where I'm at. Like if I were drawing like a map of comic shops that I'm hitting, that's where I'd like to hit this weekend, just to see, hey, if I can set up stuff for like future weekends and stuff like that, that would be really great. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, so you guys are awesome. I do also want to say that, like, everyone in the YouTube community that I know is pretty awesome. I don't really know any bad people that I've met throughout the whole kind of circle that we have, and I just appreciate like the support, the fact that like all of us tend to like each other's stuff when we see it go up. We tend to try to like encourage each other, like buy each other's work. Like, I don't know, there's a really cool little cartoonist community that I feel really fortunate to be involved with and kind of somewhat tapped into through YouTube, and it's been such a cool experience, like getting to know people from other countries, from other states, all with like the love of comics in common, like bonding them. The other thing that I was gonna say that's awesome about these signings, and then I gotta get going, is like the nice thing about a signing with the right perspective. Like if you go to a signing expecting to sell gangbusters of books, you might be disappointed. Even when you do, like at least for me, of the 2 days, the one where I did gangbusters, it felt slow the whole time. You're sitting there and a lot of it's like very slow, but there's a steady stream of people gradually buying your work. But if you go there with like really high expectations, you may not even be nice to the person who runs and built the business that you're sitting at, right? So one thing I like to keep in mind at in-store signings is like get to know the retailer, get to know the person who like built this business from the ground up. What made them make the crazy decision to start a retail shop, and then also like what kind of ups and downs have they been through as business people, and also like what do they love about the thing they're selling. Like one of the coolest things, like I said, I didn't move a lot at the record shop Voodoo Vinyl, but I will say like I got to know the people who run that store, and they're like truly just awesome people. You know, one of them's like this rad retired artist from like grew up in the San Francisco scene, and just is like super into like awesome music, was like hugely into the Rolling Stones when they were a kid, and just like love like music and vinyl, and I think also love the process of retail. And then the other, like they were like this old married couple that was like amazing, like they're really cool people and kind-hearted, and like it was just really cool to kind of have that experience and get to know some local store owners. And I think at the end of the day, like if you approach a signing like that, like as a way to kind of get to know people, get some interesting stories about different people, that's the way to do it. Like, and also just view it as an adventure. Like for me, you know, that was just a vacation day, and a needed vacation day, because I needed to like reset, get my mind right, and also like focus on something I love for a little bit, and that's going to give me energy at my work and stuff like that throughout, you know, the times that I'm not doing signings or anything like that. So yeah, all right, I've rambled a bunch. I am really excited to just kind of like talk more about like how it goes with the autism diagnosis. Like, is that an actual thing? I'm like pretty much like 99% certain that it is. And what part of why I talk openly about it too is like there's a lot of stigma around mental illness, and I talk about that pretty openly in my book. And I'm a firm believer in the idea of talking about things that are stigmatized in our society. And one of them, like for sure, I've noticed it with my son too. Like the second my son got like an autism diagnosis, we had like family members like sending us like vaccine conspiracy theories and stuff, and like making all these wild assumptions about like what that implied about our child, and yet my son is like the smartest kid in his class. So it's like is it a negative thing that he has that? No, it's just part of who he is. And like honestly, like if you think that's like some kind of distorted problem with him, like the problem's with you, not with him. And so that's one of the reasons I don't mind talking openly about the possibility of it myself, because like a lot of the check marks on the list are there, but I feel like neurotypical doesn't mean better, and to me, like that's a huge thing, like to kind of focus on, and to highlight, to try to be like more vocal about. Like I feel like if I wind up having that diagnosis, I want to be really open about it. A lot of people might be kind of secretive about that kind of thing, and understandably, because there's a huge stigma in our society against it. But to me, it's just not, it's not a big deal. It's just a way to get to know myself better. And so yeah, so I'm gonna kind of keep that in mind too, in the future, and try to kind of be as open about that as possible with the community, because why not? The only other thing is just to kind of like hide it and keep it stigmatized, and yeah, I just, that doesn't match my personality. So that being said, I'm gonna basically get to work, but really fun few days. Really do miss all my streaming buddies. The live stream's a lot of fun, and I miss my dudes and dudettes, but my night gang, I miss them. So I'm gonna have to run one of those at some point. Probably likely not tonight, because I've just had like quite a few late nights and busy days and just not a lot of rest. And so I think the first thing I'm gonna do, like I think this Friday I might need to just like watch a movie or something. Haven't done that in a long time, or a TV show, and just like sit with my wife and hang out, and then go to bed, like, and sleep. Like I think that's potentially like a really good plan for tonight. So but right after that, I want to get back on the horse, go to more stores, and keep getting progress on the pages, because it is more and more getting close to that end part. So yeah, all right, I've been saying a bunch of stuff, and that's it. I'm Joshua Kemble. Go buy 2 stories from Amazon.com, and let me know your experiences. Have you guys done in-store signings before? What were your experiences like doing them? And then also, like, have you had really disappointing in-stores before, where you like, made really like way less sales than you expected, or like really successful ones where you made more sales than you expected? Yeah, let me know, and I will talk to you later. Bye.